Right. So we talked about all the main endocrine organs, or most of them. We talked about it, and we have additional endocrine. Organs that have endocrine functions. It is not considered an endocrine gland. It is something else. Intestine, stomach, kidney, heart, any one of those will have a little bit of an endocrine function, meaning that the organ is not an endocrine organ. It is mainly for something else, but just there is a little bit of participation. It just release a little bit of hormones that we need to know. Intestine is not the most important. Kidney is very important. You need to remember calcitriol and EPO or erythropoietin. And when you see calcitriol, when you see calci, you know that this has to do with calcium, right? To remind you with calcium. So there is calcitonin and calcitriol. These are completely different things. Calcitonin, it might remind you with tiny. Calcitonin, calcitiny, like lower the calcium in the blood, or find a way to remember it, whatever it is. This is how I remember it. Calcitonin, tiny. It makes calcium tiny. Calcitriol, triol is a vitamin. So this is active vitamin D. Where do we make vitamin D? In the skin, but inactive. We make it in the skin. It's inactive. It go to the kidney take it from there, activate it, and release it. So it counts toward the kidney. This is active vitamin D. Uh, it also secretes an enzyme. Renin is an enzyme, it's not a hormone. And this enzyme is going to convert angiotensinogen to angiotensin 1, which will be converted to angiotensin 2. And we will talk about angiotensin 2 a little bit more. But for now, angiotensinogen. Always cut the word into pieces. You will understand it. Angiotensin, angiotensino, and then gen. When you see gen at the end of any word, it means the generator of something, or the precursor of something, or inactive form of something. Once you remove the gen, it's the active form, like angiotensin. Just add gen, this is the generator, the precursor. Not only here, it's everywhere. Everywhere. When you see gen at the end, it goes without saying. So angiotensin gen, make it active, just remove the gen. It will become angiotensin. But there are two of those. Angiotensin 1, which is not very active, it will be activated into the most active form, which is angiotensin 2. And there is an enzyme that does this conversion. You're converging angiotensin 1 to angiotensin 2. So what is that enzyme? Angiotensin converting enzyme. The enzyme that convert angiotensin 1 to 2. Make sense? Angiotensin converting enzyme, which is called ACE, angiotensin converting enzyme. What's angiotensin? We got the gem. What's angiotensin? Angio is a prefix that means blood vessels. Okay, this is exact translation. Tensin is tension. How do you make the blood vessel tension? You constrict, you contract to make it tense. Does every part make sense? Because when you put these parts together, you can come up and you can translate any word, even if you don't know. I mentioned from the beginning, this is not English. This is Latin and Greek. And Latin and Greek, it's all about prefixes and suffixes. Put them together, you will get the meaning, even if you don't know the meaning. Okay? So angio is blood vessels. Tensin, tension. You make the blood vessels tension. Why are you doing that? To increase the blood pressure. There are different things that we will talk about, but for now, I want you to remember calcitriol, erythropoietin. What's erythropoietin? Erythro means red. Do we all know that? Erythro. Poietin or poiesis, I talked about it several times before. Poiesis, poietin, means formation. Erythropoietin, formation of the red blood cells. It should make sense. Poietin, poiesis. You will see it a lot. Poietin, poiesis, same thing. So we do calcitriol, which is active vitamin D that help calcium absorption. Erythropoietin, formation of red blood cells. And renin, converting angiotensinogen to angiotensin. Angiotensinogen comes from the liver, actually. And the kidney, the role of the kidney here is just to activate it by renin. So this is cholecalciferol, which is inactive vitamin D. This is the skin. This part right here is the skin. And through the sunlight, ultraviolet radiation, we convert cholesterol and make cholecalciferol. What's the cholecalciferol? Inactive vitamin D. This is what it calls cholecalciferol. And then what? And then this cholecalciferol will go to the kidney, and the kidney will activate it into calcitriol, the vitamin that help absorption of calcium. This is what I was talking about. So EPO, this is one, erythropoietin. That's one. Number two, calcitriol. And number three is an enzyme, not a hormone. And this enzyme is renin. Here is renin. Angiotensin comes from the liver. The kidney secretes renin. Renin activate angiotensin to angiotensin 1. What's angiotensin 1? It's not very active. The angiotensin 2 is the active one. And this angiotensin 2, this conversion happened through ACE. If you forgot it, it's called angiotensin. So angiotensin converting enzyme. And this is angiotensin 2 is going to increase blood pressure by making the blood vessels tense, like vasoconstriction, plus it stimulates ADH and aldosterone secretion. This is 3 out of the 4. The fourth one, maybe it's coming later, but it make you thirsty. It produce thirsty. You feel thirst or thirsty. So you're going to drink. When you drink, you're adding to your blood volume. So you're increasing blood pressure. All what you see here, oh, it's right there, I'm sorry. All what you see here is to increase the blood pressure. Think about it. Angiotensin, vasoconstriction, that increase the blood pressure. Thirsty, you drink, you add to the blood volume, you increase the blood pressure. ADH, I talked about it before, anti-diuretic hormone, the hormone that's against diuresis. So you don't make a lot of urine. How? Reabsorption of water. And then what? Adding to the blood volume, increasing blood pressure. How about aldosterone? What's the function of aldosterone? We talked about it. Anybody remember? Aldosterone that comes from the adrenal cortex. Remember adrenal cortex, glucocorticoid, mineralocorticoid, which is aldosterone. What does it do? No, aldosterone. Glucocorticoids increase glucose, not mineralocorticoid. Anybody remember? Yes, reabsorption of sodium. So water reabsorption, that's the ADH. Sodium reabsorption, aldosterone. You have to remember this. Basics, you have to remember it. Okay, aldosterone, sodium reabsorption. ADH, water reabsorption. What do you mean by reabsorption? You take it back from the kidney. It goes to the kidney. It should go in the urine. You take it back. You don't leave it to go into the urine. And what is good about getting the sodium back, reabsorption of sodium? When you reabsorb the sodium, chloride and get rid of potassium at the same time, yes. But when you reabsorb sodium, chloride is like the shadow of sodium. Now you have sodium chloride. What's the sodium chloride? Salt. So when you get salt into the blood, water will follow. So what? Increasing the blood volume again, increasing the blood pressure. So angiotensin 2 is a hormone that increases blood pressure 4 ways. You see it now, you will see it again and again and again. You will see it like 3 or 4 times in different systems. So you have to remember it. So it increases blood pressure 4 ways. One of them from the name, angiotensin, tension of the blood vessels, vasoconstriction. Okay, thirsty, drink, increase blood volume. ADH, reabsorb water, adding to the blood volume. Aldosterone, reabsorption of sodium. You get the sodium back, followed by chloride. That salt, by osmosis, water will follow. It will add to the blood volume again. So three of them, you're increasing the blood volume. And when you increase the blood volume, blood pressure increase. So this is the end. What you're doing is increasing blood pressure. One more thing. So I said the kidney secrete renin, EPO, and calcitriol. When does the kidney secrete it? When we need it. When do we need it? How does the kidney know that we need it? Blood, for example, red blood cells, if you're having hypoxia, if no enough blood go to the kidney, or no enough oxygen go to the kidney will say, like these organs, how do they understand? This is how it goes. Okay, if less blood going to the kidney, so the kidney will say, I have to do something. There is less blood, we need to make more blood, right? There is less oxygen and means there is less blood, we have to do blood. How about renin? Renin will end up increasing the blood pressure. So what is the signal that go to the kidney to secrete renin? If your function is to increase the blood pressure, what triggers you? Low blood pressure, yes. When the blood pressure goes down, the kidney will feel it. It will secrete renin. Make sense? If you don't have enough blood, the kidney will say, we need to make more blood. If the blood pressure goes down, the kidney say, we have to increase the blood pressure. This is how it goes. Okay? So if I ask you what trigger the release of those, you now understand. How about the heart? The heart also secretes some hormones. Yes, it's not an endocrine organ. It's heart, but it just participates a little bit. There is something called natriuretic peptides. One of them come from the atrium and the other one come from the ventricle. So atrial natriuretic peptide and the other one is not ventricular natriuretic peptide. It's called brain. What's the brain has to do with this? It's just happened that when they discovered it in the brain of the pigs. So they found something that come from the brain. They call it brain natriuretic peptide. Then they found it in humans, but they didn't change the name. I mean, if I have a say on this, I would just change it because it doesn't come from the brain. It comes from the ventricle. I would call it ventricular natriuretic peptide, but they didn't change the name. So we have to take it as it is. Okay, it have nothing to do with the brain. It's an old name. But both of those, one come from the atrium and one come from the ventricle. Do you guys remember the atrium and ventricle? We did it in the lab. Yes, one come from the atrium and one come from the ventricle, and both of them same function. What's the same function? Natriuretic. And what does it mean? Nat or natter is sodium. All what I'm doing is just translation. Natter is sodium. Uretic, urine. Natriuretic, sodium in the urine. And this is what this hormone does. It throw sodium in the urine. This is the opposite of what? This throw sodium in the urine. What's the opposite of that? Reabsorption of sodium, which is what? Aldosterone, isn't it? Aldosterone reabsorb sodium. So you don't throw it in the urine. This is doing the opposite. Natriuretic. Natriuretic. It throws sodium in the urine. Isn't that exactly the opposite? This is antagonist. So natriuretic peptide is the antagonist of aldosterone. So what do you think will happen if you understand it? What do you think this natriuretic peptide does? What does it do? When the natriuretic, sodium in the urine, start with Na, sodium. So what happened to the blood pressure when you do that? Lower the blood pressure. How? Sodium in the urine, chloride will follow, sodium in the salt in the urine now, right? And what follow the salt by osmosis? Water. So what happened to the blood volume? Reduce. So what happened to the blood pressure? Decrease. Isn't that exactly the opposite? This is how it works. Next one is the thymus. And the only thing that I want you to know is thymosin is a hormone that comes from the thymus, and the name is the same name. It's thymosin. It just comes from the thymus to activate T lymphocytes. We will talk about the blood right after we finish this, and you will know that the white blood cells, some of them are called lymphocytes. Lymphocytes, there are T and B. I think you heard about this before. T and B. T means thymosin, because this is what activates the T lymphocyte. Next, testes, and the testes obviously secrete androgen. Testosterone. What's the difference? We always say testosterone is androgen. Androgen is testosterone. That's not true. It is not true. Androgen is an umbrella for male hormones in general. Testosterone is the most common and most strongest one of them. Exactly like the difference between fruits and apple. It's not the same, isn't it? Fruits and apple, androgen and aldosterone. Aldosterone is the most common androgen. Apple is the most common fruits. Okay, so this is the difference between androgen and testosterone. There is also another hormone that's called inhibin that come from the Sertoli cells. Sertoli cells secrete inhibin, and interstitial cells secrete testosterone. Inhibin is just the opposite. It does the opposite effect depending on the situation. Ovaries obviously secrete estrogen. If testes secretes the male hormone, ovaries secrete the female hormone, which is estrogen. There is another one. In males, it is just androgen. That's it, androgen. There are different types of androgen. Most importantly, testosterone. Yes. How about in females? In males, androgen. In females, estrogen, right? There is an additional one, which is called progesterone or progestin. Not only estrogen. What's the difference between male and females? The main difference, pregnancy, right? Pregnancy. This is the main difference. So in males, just one, which is androgen. In female, estrogen is just like androgen, but there's an additional one for pregnancy, which is progesterone, and progestin come from pro and gestine, two parts. Pro means promoting. Gestine is coming from gestation, which is pregnancy. Gestation, translation, pregnancy. Progestation, stimulate pregnancy or help pregnancy. So you got two hormones, not one, from the ovaries. From the adipose tissue, there is something called leptin. And leptin is something that inhibits the appetite. Which is actually good, because if you have more leptin, you don't feel hungry and you eat less. So these hormones that we talked about so far, all these hormones, there are relationships between the different types of hormones. Antagonist is something that we give several examples, right? Insulin and glucagon. Isn't that antagonist? Insulin decrease glucose and glucagon increase, right? This is called antagonist. Parathyroid hormone and calcitonin, right? Parathyroid hormone increase calcium in the blood, calcitonin decrease it. This is antagonist, right? Aldosterone and natriuretic peptide. This is antagonist. The next one is synergist, something that help with the function. It just adds to the function. Like if you have angiotensin or aldosterone and ADH, both of them add up to each other to increase the blood pressure. Permissive effect is a hormone that's needed for the next one to work. Like you have angiotensinogen to be angiotensin 1 and 2, or renin to activate angiotensinogen. This is permissive effect. Integrative, these are hormones that help, but not directly. They do not work together directly. Like glucagon and glucocorticoid, for example. They have nothing to do with each other, right? Glucagon increased sugar. Glucocorticoid is there for something else, but it also helps increasing the blood glucose. Do you remember this? I told you to remember glucocorticoid. It increased glucose, anti-inflammatory, anti-allergic. Do you still remember this? You have to remember this. Anti-inflammatory, anti-allergic, two antis, plus it increased blood sugar. So it increased blood sugar? Yes. How about glucagon? It increased blood sugar. How about adrenaline? It increased blood sugar. Isn't this is integrative effect? Like they are three different things, but at the end they integrate with each other in different ways to result in something here, which is increasing blood glucose. Out of the hormones that we talked about already, some of them that you need to remember, they work together in growth, and this is one of the integrative effects. Growth hormone, obviously, from the name, it helps you to grow, right? It helps your cells and tissues to grow. It's called growth hormone. Thyroid hormone, it helps in this process by increasing metabolism. And when you increase metabolism, you get more energy and you build more. Insulin, how does it help with the growth? Isn't insulin push glucose into the cells? The cells will take it and use it and grow, right? So it does help. Parathyroid hormone and calcitriol, they increase calcium in the blood. And when they do that, there is more calcium in the body. We're going to store it, so our bone is going to grow. And this is not the only use for calcium, but for now, as long as you're adding something to the body to use, it is growing. Reproductive hormones. Obviously, during puberty, you see boys like all of a sudden their body build up, increase, and muscles and bones, right? What's the only difference here? It's not growth hormone. It is the androgen. Same thing for females. It's not just for male and female um, characteristics. It's also for muscle for bodybuilding. Why all of a sudden boys become like muscular and their body grow, they get taller and so on. What's making them grow like this? It is reproductive hormones. So you have five hormones that you need to remember that they work together. Of course, growth hormone is number one, but the other four also help in the body growth. Growth hormone, if you are a child, it's going to help you to grow, right? If you don't have growth hormone, you're not going to grow, just like this. So how do you grow? Both muscles and bones, and that's why you grow. Does it stay like this forever? No. You grow, 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 grow until certain age, 20s, and that's it. You don't become taller. Your body doesn't, you almost stay the same, right? You can gain a little bit, you can lose a little bit, but this is not growing. You're just adding or losing weight, but you don't grow anymore. So after that, in adulthood, growth hormone almost doesn't have an important function, except it also increase blood glucose. So this will be the fourth one. But generally speaking, again, the effect is different from children to adults. In us, it does not help us to grow anymore. Our body doesn't grow. Gaining or losing weight is something else. You're not growing anymore physically, okay? Because growth hormone is done. What if you don't have enough growth hormone? If that's the case, as a child, you will become dwarf, right? You're not going to grow much. Thyroid hormone, I talked about it before. Thyroid hormone is one of the growth hormones. It helps you to grow, right? It's one of the five that I just mentioned. It helps you to increase overall body metabolism. All reactions increase, and these reactions will give you what you need from these reactions, energy and other things. Um, you have to have enough thyroid hormone during pregnancy and in the first year of life. Do you remember when I talked about this before? Automatically, if you're pregnant, they have to make sure that you have enough, that the mom have enough thyroids. If not, this baby will be dwarf. There is another name for it. It's called cretinism. If you heard about this before, creatine, it's not just it's different than dwarf. Dwarf is just a body. The body is small, right? Short and tiny and small. This is dwarf. But dwarf have a normal mental function, right? This is not the same because thyroid hormone also stimulate the maturation of the nervous system itself. So what if the mom doesn't have enough thyroid hormone during pregnancy? The nervous system itself is not going to maturate. And this will result in mental retardation. So cretinism, the condition that I'm talking about right now, if the mom is not having enough thyroid, but automatically if you go to any doctor, any nurse, and you're pregnant, automatically one of the things, vitamin B12 and folic acid and a lot of things. But this is one of them. They have to. It's like ABC pregnancy. Once you're pregnant, they measure the thyroid hormone because it has dramatic effects to the extent of dwarfism plus mental retardation. The other one for growth hormone, what if you don't have enough growth hormone? Dwarfism only. So how about the mental function? No, the mental function is almost okay. If you met a dwarf before, somebody, they are just normal people. They are just, the body is small, but they don't have mental issues. For this, they do. Because you have to remember that thyroid hormone does not only help the body to grow, it helps the nervous system to maturate. Okay? Insulin, we talked about it already. Push glucose into the cells. So the cells take the glucose, use it, and grow. Parathyroid hormone and calcitriol, calcium. When you absorb more calcium, you take more calcium, you add in calcium to your body, and you're going to use it, especially in the bone, to grow. Without it, your bone doesn't grow. How about reproductive hormones? Yes, androgen and estrogen, both of them, males and females, they help our body to grow. It's not just the secondary sexual characteristics. Where during puberty, it's not only that the boys look like a man in different ways, and the girl looks like a female with all the secondary sexual characteristics. It's not only this; it's the body build itself, the skeletal system and the muscular system. Stimulate both of those at the same time. So two things, and that explains something. If you hear about after menopause, you know that after menopause, the bone of the ladies become weak. Did you ever think about it? Menopause, it's not just the eggs, it's not just the ovum. It is also the estrogen was stimulating the bone to grow or maintain its function and to stay strong. So after menopause, estrogen drops and the effect on the bone drops. The bone become weak. Did you hear about osteoporosis, a condition that come after menopause? It's because of this. Because remember it, estrogen and androgen, both of those stimulate your musculoskeletal system to grow and then to maintain its strength. What happens if you are exposed to stress? Still talking about the hormones. What if you are exposed to stress? The first thing that happened, let's say somebody is attacking you and you're going to fight. The first thing that's going to happen is the sympathetic effect. Do you remember the sympathetic effect? Fight and flight, right? Fight and flight. So you're going to fight. Which hormone is helping you in this case? Since we were talking about hormones, what's a hormone that's predominant in this case? Which hormone is the sympathetic hormone that help you during this? Hmm? Adrenaline? Yes, adrenaline and noradrenaline. Or epinephrine, norepinephrine is the same thing. Adrenaline, don't forget it. Sympathetic hormone. So you go into different phases. The first phase is alarm phase, followed by resistance, followed by exhaustion. What do you mean? I mean, alarm phase is the first phase. Somebody's attacking you, you have all your resources still, and you're going to utilize all these resources to help you to fight. What's a hormone? Adrenaline or epinephrine, right? That's the hormone that help you. You know, adrenaline and epinephrine is going to help you to fight, but guess what? It's going to utilize all your resources. It, at this point, I don't care about anything. I don't care about the digestive system. I don't care about the heart, the kidney. This is not my issue. I will get all these resources and utilize them just to fight. So you cannot maintain that, right? Can you fight for 5 hours? Of course not. You cannot. So if you are under stress in the beginning, you go into the alarm phase in which there is a sympathetic activation and the hormone is adrenaline, and you utilize all your resources to help you in that condition. But if that is prolonged, you cannot continue. Guess what? You're going to die if that's the case. You cannot. Adrenaline is almost like hitting your body. Like, give me the resources, give me the resources. You take everything, everything. Okay. So if you continue like that, your organs are going to fail. So that does not happen. If the stress continue, you get into the next phase, which is resistance phase. So if somebody continue to attack you or stress is continuous, you cannot maintain and you cannot continue with the sympathetic. Sympathetic, you utilize my resources. I will not allow you to hurt my body. So you did your part. That's it. We go to the next phase. I can still resist. I'm not fighting, but I can resist. And the hormone that's predominant in this second phase is glucocorticoid, which is cortisone. And I think we know cortisone is stress hormone, isn't it? And this is what it means during stress. The first phase, no. The second phase, the resistance phase. And if that's the case, glucocorticoid is kind of um, not so strong on the body. It still continue to take some resources to help you to fight stress, but not as strong as adrenaline. So you still get lipids and amino acids because you will be running of glucose. So utilize other things to help you in this case because you're under stress and you're using your glucose, utilizing it, you run out of it, right? And the problem is your nervous system can only use glucose. Everything else, we can use other resources, right? What if I ran out of glucose? Like I have zero glucose now. What I'm going to do? It's not going to go zero in the first place. But if it drops dramatically, we can take the fatty acids and we can take the amino acids and use it as an alternative. Can our nervous system do that? No. Nervous system, glucose. So whatever the glucose that's left in this resistance phase, we keep it aside, keep the remaining part to our nervous system, and we're going to use something else. Okay? So this is the second phase. Third phase is you cannot continue forever. Your systems are going to fail. Kidney, heart, something is going to fail. And this is called the exhaustion phase. Okay, this is the system integration, putting things together. And we're going to stop here for this one.